Welcome back to Real Repairs, folks. Extra special episode today. As you can see, we're not in the video studio. We're in Dan Erlewine's shop. When I talked to him about the concept of Real Repairs, he was excited to take part and said he had a perfect example for an episode. So we're in his shop today. So Dan, take it away.
Well, thanks, Gene. I don't have a ton to say other than that I've had this 7-string Holst guitar made by Steve Holst from Oregon in the shop for a couple of weeks. The trouble that it has is the truss rod doesn't work. The threading on the end of the rod is stripped so badly that I guess that they used the wrong tool and grabbed it with vice grips, and all it did was mangle it. So I hope to use the StewMac truss rod rescue tools to repair it. We fix truss rods all the time. I fixed 3 last week, 3 fenders. This one is not normal to see it that mangled.
That one's pretty bad.
It is.
Mm-hmm. You've talked to the builder, right? So you know.
Yeah, I got in touch with the builder and he was nice enough to send photos of how he installs the rods. And those will be helpful if the rescue tools don't fix the issue. Because then we'd have to do some major surgery, but at least we'd have an idea of where the anchor is. I always try to get as much info as I can before I start a repair.
So this brings us into the truss rod rescue tools, which you developed along with Frank Ford, right?
Frank and I used to go to the Asia and Guild conventions, meet each other, and hang out a lot during the convention and talk about repair. One time I told him the story about how I met a man that had worked at Fender, and I told him that I wish there was a die that could go into the end of a Fender neck and chase those threads and clean them up or even cut new threads. And he said that he thinks they had one at Fender. He remembered seeing it, but it never came to fruition. I never saw it, and I never saw him again. And I told Frank about it, and 1 month, this came in. Frank sent this to me, and it's the very first truss rod repair die. It should probably be in a museum somewhere. The idea is that this die would cut through the mangled truss rod threads, clean them up so they could still hold a nut again. And that's where StewMac came up with the truss rod rescue kit. So basically the truss rod kit is 2 tools with a few accessories. It's a 3/8 inch cutter that exposes unused thread or unused rod by removing a small amount of wood from around the damaged rod. Once you've bored away enough wood, you can come in with the thread cutting die. That fits right into the pocket you just created with the cutter and chases mangled threads or cuts new threads. Both of these, by the way, are powered by a T-handle wrench, but I have been known to cut the T part of the handle off so I have a shaft I can put in a drill. The kit also has washers, or spacers as we call them, of different sizes that make up some of the differences that you cut away. And it gives you control of how deep the adjusting nut sits on the rod, and it gives you a steel surface for the new nut to tighten against. And also we make truss rod nuts that are elongated, longer than usual, in case you have to bore really deep to get onto new threads.
These are game-changing tools, right? Before this,
oh yeah,
you took the fretboard off or you excavated a window like you were talking about. So these really made a repair possible where before it was a pretty major surgery.
Like I said, I did 3 fenders last week. Do you want to just get right into this?
Yeah, let's see what we're working with here. Got to get the uniform on.
Yeah, got to get the most important tool. All right, let's get in here and cut some wood. You'll notice a little blue tape as I'm cutting, and that's masking tape wrapped around the rod to keep glue off it when it's installed. It's called a sleeve. Some are made out of rubber, some are wrapped in tape. I'm going to start out with a good control on it and slight pressure and see how this wood's cutting. I like to get started slow and see how it's feeling. I'm using firm but not hard pressure. I can feel the wood. I'm not going in too fast. I can feel it cutting. And here's a little trade secret. Use a magnet to pull that cutter out.
Did you get anywhere?
Yeah, it's starting. There you go. Now we're getting somewhere. I'd say we're in there about 3/8 of an inch, maybe a little more.
That's looking pretty good, man. Are you ready to move on to step 2?
I'm going to see if I can get on that butchered thread to begin with. So once again, I'm using a 1032 cutting die because it's a 1032 rod. And when you cut, you want to cut a bit and then release the chip, cut and release the chip.
You have some lubrication or anything you want?
I've got some, but I don't know if I want to use it. The less you use any lube, the better chance you have for any kind of wood plug you want to glue in or whatever is happening. So far, it feels good. You want to try a little?
Yeah, sure. Oh wow, that's cutting real nice. I wasn't really expecting that because of all this mangled damage around here.
Let's take it out and look at it.
Well, they look better. You can already see on the end, they clean the end up pretty nicely.
Let's go a little deeper.
Here, go for it.
But at some point, this is not going to want to keep going.
We just want to join the mangled part to the fresh thread so you can get a...
No, I'm on all fresh thread now. And it's a question of when will it stop? Right about there. These are clean now. It's gone right past the hole where a drill had been used, and it's gotten onto the other threads and chased them nice and clean. And this is what we hoped, right?
We've got a brand new extension nut there you want to try?
Yeah, this isn't the nut we're going to use. I'm guessing it's way too long. I'm just excited to see how far it goes and how the threads are working.
All right, well, this is going to tell us how successful we are so far.
So we're on it right now, so now we'd want to put a washer in there so this nut bears against the steel washer and doesn't crush the wood. We're going to try to put a nut on it now that's short, just to see how far it goes. I think if we put this on, we'll know how far it can go. It's going to bottom out because it doesn't have a clearance hole. Then we measure and we'll know how many spacers to put inside.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's bottomed out now, but we're not flush or below the surface of the peg head, so a truss rod cover is not going to sit flat. So you're thinking if we go deeper and then what, use a truss rod nut with a hole through it so we can get further into the nut?
Either that or drill a hole through it. We're just thinking here.
What about the possibility of taking a little off the end of that rod somehow?
I wouldn't be afraid to do that.
If we removed 1/8 inch off of that rod, that would allow us to go in deeper. Or we could come in with the bigger cutter so that we could use an acorn nut?
Now that's a good idea. When you're talking about a bigger cutter, this is the one. It makes a hole so that you can put a Gibson truss rod nut on it.
It would be nice to use the fender style because of the extra length, a little more strength to the nut.
A lot more thread.
Yeah, but the problem is it's not going to allow us to put a truss rod cover. It's sitting above the surface of the peg head, right?
Yep. So
What do you think if we tried a Gibson style?
I think it'll work perfectly.
You wanna
Let's
try that?
put it on and see what it feels like.
All right.
I have a good feeling about this.
Yeah, so far so good, man. This is going great.
I mean, this nut will go all the way down because it's smaller than the hole.
So that's touching bottom?
Not yet, no. There you go.
So we have some sticking out as is without even a spacer in it. I think this is
So
going
I
to
think
work.
we put a little metal spacer.
So with a spacer in there, we'll get even that much more sticking out, and then I don't think we really need to bore more wood out of here.
No, I think we're there.
This is a weak area in the neck anyway. We don't want to take any more wood out here than we have to.
And I think that's the one.
That's the one? Okay. What do you think?
At one point, I almost wonder if we're pulling the rod out.
As you tighten it, it's maybe coming loose from the anchor and creeping in this direction?
I'm just saying it's farther than it should, and if I hammer on this and it goes backwards, that means that on the other end there's a lug, that's the anchor. It's pressing the wood. Maybe only a 1/16 of an inch, but this will be interesting. No, it's good.
Okay.
Let's shake that. Shake it, baby.
There it went.
There, thank you. I see it. Hey,
Hey, what's up, man?
come in.
Come on in, man.
Remember this Holtz jazz guitar?
Oh, yeah.
We're finally fixing the truss rod on camera.
Okay. Did you use the truss rod saver?
All of that, yeah, and remember how mangled that was?
Oh, yeah.
And we can thread right on that now, and we're gonna
That's nice.
put this washer in.
Hey, look at that. We're getting there.
See now,
Biting down?
It's starting to hit
you're
here.
bottoming out. Mm.
So I put another washer in.
There we go.
If it keeps being the same length, something weird's happening.
Then we have a problem.
Yeah, now
to figure out.
now I got plenty.
That looks good.
I believe we found the right combination. That's it, buddy.
Okay, yeah.
I can put a lot of tension on this now.
And you're not bottoming out on the rod
No,
back
I think
here?
I'm good. We can measure to really know.
So we've got enough sticking out here now because of those two spacers, and not so much excess thread beyond that that we're bottoming out inside the wrench. So what, do you think we should just try and adjust it now?
I think we should. Okay. For years, I've been a proponent of loosening the truss rod nut and clamping the neck into a back bow, and then using a prop to bend it back, and then tightening the rod. It's called helping the rod adjust. So many people don't do it, and I just don't understand that. I'd use my dad's level. I'd block it up at each end, and I'd squeeze that neck back till it looks like this, and then tighten it. Then I got a little fancier without the level. I made a board with a slot in it, and it had a couple little props in each end, and did it with that. Now, thanks to 3D printing and the Stuart McDonald under the strings sanding beam, Dave Fliss printed these out. He designed them and had a buddy print them out. This is the bar that slides underneath strings with sandpaper on it, so you can level frets with strings on. My biggest use for it now is this.
I would say though, to preserve a fret leveler just for leveling and take a separate old one to use for this. I wouldn't want to use this to level frets after I've done this too much.
Now it's in a slight back bow.
So-
it's not like clamping a fender neck or a thin, this is a big, heavy neck. It's
Right.
a 7-string guitar. You want to look down that? You'll see what I'm looking at.
Oh yeah, you're in a back bow now. So I think what this is accomplishing is as this neck bows back, this rod kind of makes its way out this direction so that the nut doesn't have to do all of that work itself. We're taking all the tension off of the nut. We're not making the rod do the work. We're helping the rod along.
Now, the fear that I might have is that this would break because it's been mistreated.
How does it feel?
Feels pretty good. I'd almost want to measure at this point and see if that's touching the end of this or not.
Okay.
And that's worth doing. There's all this gap. It's
got
not
all
even
this
close.
Clearance to the back of that. Oh, there you go. It fits.
See that rock?
Yeah, you're in a back bow. That's a good sign.
It's working.
So the fact that we can get this into a back bow is really showing us that this truss rod's working great. I think we should put some string tension on here now and see where it ends up.
Let's string it up and see how we did.
Looking for some strings here.
No.
No.
Okay.
So what do we got here?
Well,
I got
oh God.
10.
Found some 8-string sets.
Oh.
Then I have one 7-string set that's nickel plated round wound. That's
That's probably
10
our
to
best
60.
bet.
Yeah, this
And
should
then-
work. If the gauge isn't the same as what he uses or close to it, we're not putting the exact pressure on the neck that he's used to. When you take your guitar to get repaired and set up, you should bring 2 sets of strings. The first set, you take them on, take them off, take them on, and they get all worn out. When you finally get what you want, then you put the final set on. I'm going to give Gene the honors here. This guitar is it's a very expensive guitar. It's a beautiful arch top, and there's a lot of really nice handmade parts on it, like the tailpiece made of ebony.
Look at that.
Oh my
You don't have to press the button.
Found on the bench.
We see who can play a 7-string jazz guitar. Blake?
I bet Blake can. He can play
Give
anything.
it a shot, but I'm no jazz man.
Wow.
I'm telling you,
Let's see.
it's fixed.
Well, Dan, I'm I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. I had my doubts that it was gonna work, but that's straight.
First time.
First time. The master at work. Way to go, man.
Man. Wow. It wasn't easy, but it was fun. I feel like we just begun, but it's already fixed, working so well. That's all I want. It's the truss rod blues. Tighten it once, tighten it twice. Let me give you a little truss rod advice. Clamp it in a back bow before you start.
That's a success. Folks, another awesome reel repairs. My favorite one so far because of Dan. Thank you, sir, so much for everything.
Oh, Gene. The things you say.
Oh, a little improv.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Blake.
Hey, good job, guys.
And thank you, folks, for joining us for Reel Repairs. We'll see you at the bench next time.
Won't be long.